Hi there. We're just going to do a short tech talk video here. I wanted to talk a little bit about Facebook and online tracking and a little bit about sort of personal privacy since it's been very popular lately, with Mark Zuckerberg testifying before Congress and all. So I just want to talk a bit about how kind of what Facebook is doing, what their sort of business model is, and what they are tracking about you. Um, so obviously you go if you've ever used Facebook before, it's to connect to friends and relatives and things like that and talk to each other, which is all provided for free. But in exchange for that, basically they get to send you targeted advertising. But it isn't just that they sort of show ads on the side of the page. What it is that they track you and who you are and what you're interested in and stuff, and they provide that information out to people who can then do advertising or studies or other thing of that. And they provide it both for sort of commercial reasons and then for like they call academic or scientific reasons, which can sometimes be a bit vague. And that's what some of the problems with the Cambridge Analytica stuff is they were sort of theoretically doing it for academic means, but it was much more of a marketing company research thing than it was a sociological experiment. And so what they do is they track you because obviously you post a lot on Facebook, and they know a lot about you, and they encourage you to fill in lots of information there too. Where you went to school, what your jobs are, how old you are, what connect with your family members, and then they know things you like and people you talk to, and they can create quite this profile on you. But it's not just what they do on Facebook. They actually they have tracking cookies that all kinds of people will embed in their sites, and then they track you persistently along any of these sites you visit. And so they can say, oh, hey, you have this cookie from Facebook, that we load in through a little iframe on your site, and they say, okay, so now that site knows all about you, and then it adds its little bit of information, and you do this on this site, and then each site you go to that has that sort of puts that together, and it forms this sort of really robust profile of you. Who you are, what you do, and what sites you go to, and what you browse and what you look for, and all this stuff, and it combines this all together. It even does this if you are logged out of Facebook, and it even does this if you don't even have a Facebook account. It will still attempt to maintain a profile on you. It doesn't have this info. It doesn't know necessarily where you went to school and things like that because you haven't actually given them your information. But it attempts to maintain this sort of profile nonetheless. And then, if you do sign up for Facebook, it attempts to sort of match that information all together. So when you're using Facebook, you just have to be aware that this is what you're doing. If that's not the kind of information you want to give out, then you just shouldn't really use Facebook. You should communicate to people in other means that are less tracked, via email, although even Google looks in some of your stuff, so maybe even by a more secure email option that doesn't read and parse your emails to deliver you ads. It might also be that, communicating in person via text, via encrypted messaging services, via decentralized messaging services. There are things like matrix.org, which are decentralized and encrypted with key generation pairs, so you can talk privately and securely with people once you verify their keys. It gets a little technical, but it's not too bad. It's the layman can figure it out with a little bit of effort. And the EFF will provide lots. They're the Electronic Frontier Foundation. They care a lot about digital privacy and stuff. They provide a lot of guides to how you are tracked. You can also try to block various tracking scripts. There's a setup called Privacy Badger that will block some of this. You can, through various cookie settings and stuff, you can, limit what you are and aren't being tracked for. But it can be difficult because lots of times cookies are used for very legitimate purposes, just like to keep you logged into sites and to, remember personal user preferences and stuff. It's just sometimes they're also used for less genuine purposes to sort of track and monitor you, usually for just the purpose of selling you things. But as was obvious in the Cambridge Analytica setup, also for seeing your election and political preferences and trying to manipulate you that way. So that's put a bit more of a darker sort of dystopian spin on the whole thing. This doesn't have a whole ton to do with Drupal or any of the other tech stuff we talked to, just that it come up recently, and I thought I'd give a bit of a video explaining about how some of that stuff works and kind of what the scope is that you're sort of agreeing to, because a lot of people don't kind of realize the breadth of information which they're giving out. So hopefully that was helpful and informative, and I wasn't too boring or confusing.